So welcome to another video. Now, I'm not actually supposed to be here. Bit of a story, I'll tell you all about it after I've shown you this fish. But we've got our first one of the session. And it's an absolute stunner to start with. Look at that. That is absolutely tremendous, that is. I couldn't be happier. We couldn't have got off to a better start, I don't think. That is absolutely stunning. That's what all carp should look like. Fantastic. A quick look at the other side. Let's just spin you around, mate. Yes. I'll have you back very, very quickly. Promise. There you go, my darling. There you go, my darling. There you go. That is fabulous. That's how we like them. I'm going to slip this one back, put the rod back out, and I'm going to tell you all about what's happened. Because as I said, I'm not actually supposed to be here. But I'm glad I am. So what was that idiot waffling on about, I hear you say? What a fish that was to start with though. What a stunner. Yeah, I'm not actually supposed to be here. I'm actually supposed to be in Cornwall right now. You'll remember about a year ago, if you follow the channel, that I did a week's fishing in Cornwall for wrasse. Fantastic trip. I was banging to my sea fishing, and the one thing I wanted to do, which I'd never done, was catch a really big wrasse. And I went down to Cornwall and had the most amazing trip and caught the most amazing fish, and it was just brilliant. So much so that as soon as I got back, I kind of rebooked for this year. Rebooked the same accommodation, booked the time off work and all the rest of it that goes with it. But if you have been following the channel, you'll realise that just recently I've been really getting back into my carp fishing. The bug is back really badly. Sea fishing's taken a back seat, and in the months and weeks leading up to the Cornwall trip, I just haven't been able to get excited. All I wanted to do is go carp fishing, and in the last few days I've just made the decision. I know I'd lose the money on the accommodation that I've already paid out for. Can't get a refund because it's so close to the trip. It was literally like 3 days ago that I made the decision. But what I've done is I've booked onto NMG Fishery, where I did a 24-hour session a few weeks ago. I had a really good session and I couldn't wait to get back. And I've used this opportunity. I've got 5 days off work and I've used this opportunity to get back down here again. I've actually booked the lake. Not booked the lake, I've booked a swim for 3 nights with the option of a 4th night. So it's Monday evening now. I've got here this afternoon and I've got the option to stay here till Friday lunchtime. I'm down the other end of the lake to where I was before. I'm down peg 4, so I'm down the end of the lake. Sort of snaggy little margins. The far bank's only about 8 wraps away. More sort of my style of fishing. The point swim did my head in a little bit. Although it was a good session, I had the island, I had the open water, the far bank, the margins. I had too much going on. Here it's like inside margins and far margin, and that's about it. And I've got a little bit down in the corner where I can go and have a little bit of a stalk, maybe during the day if the swim goes a bit quiet, or if I want to leave the lines out of the water perhaps. But that's where we are right now. Just this is what I want to do. I want to carp fish at the moment. Every opportunity I get, I want to go and catch carp. And I think, you know, the Cornwall trip would have been good, don't get me wrong, but you know, 6 hours drive, and just wanted to be here. So I'm here. I've made it happen. As you've seen, we've got off the mark really quickly. I started off doing a little bit of stalking down there, a little bit of float fishing with luncheon meat in the edge. I saw some fish down there. I've put some bait in the margins. I saw some indications that there were fish there. I had a little go for them. We didn't catch one. And it got to about 4 o'clock, so I thought I'd better get back into the swim. 4:30 I think it was. I got back into the swim. I thought I'd get the rods out, have a bit of tea, and just get settled for the evening. And it was only, they were only out there for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and the left hand rod rattled off, and we had that low double mirror. I say it was a low double, it was about that. I didn't weigh it, but I have actually got scales with me this time, in case we do get a good one, we can stick a number on it. So that's where we are right now, just going into the first night. It's starting to get a bit chilly now, I can feel the temperature dropping. I'm going to go and put a hoodie on, perhaps make another cup of tea. Yeah, and just enjoy the evening, and I'll catch up with you guys in a bit. So there we go, that's the second fish of the trip. Small fish, 6 or 7 pounds, but a really pretty one again. Just before it got dark, I had one on the inside margin rod, down the right hand side. But unfortunately that one fell off. It's properly dark now, it's about 9 o'clock now. It's got properly dark. Just laying there listening to the owls. And then this one rattled off. Don't mind them pretty ones, even if they are small. Cracker. Wow. So, fish number 3 is a small one. But what a beautiful fish that is. Absolutely covered in massive plated scales. Absolutely stunning, that is. It'd be lovely to see that one in the daylight. That's gorgeous, but I'm pretty sure you can appreciate that for what it is. That is absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. Look at that. That is absolutely beautiful, that fish. So good morning guys, and you join me on a chilly old morning. It's cold. I was cold in that old sleeping bag this morning. I was probably up until about, I think 2 o'clock I had the last fish. I had a small common that I didn't punch around with a camera or anything. Small common, about 5 or 6 pounds. I just released it straight away. But ended on 4 fish for the night, which I'm quite pleased with. The swim, it's an end swim. And with end swims, as you'll know, if they're in there you can really have it off. But if you have a couple and they move out into the main lake and open water, you can be fishing in an area where there are no fish, or very little fish, the odd one or two creeping in, but no numbers of them. This morning's very quiet. If I remember the last session when I was here, I was fishing up against the island, and I'd fish up until about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then it wasn't until sometime during the morning, sort of 9-10 o'clock, when I moved my spots around onto the open water mark, and I caught a few more fish up until sort of leaving time. So it's following the same kind of pattern, you know, fish up until about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and then they shut up shop. Cold morning, mist rising, looks beautiful, but very, very little in the way of fish. So I've wound in the rods this morning, freshened up the hook baits. I've gone round to the far bank to bait up, and I see one patch of fizzing over there. Lots of small fish skitting around on the surface, little roach, but I'm not seeing any lumps moving, no water rocking. So it's all very, very still and very quiet this morning, and I think it's maybe this water doesn't respond in the morning. It takes a little while for the sun maybe to warm the water up, and then they'll get active. And I think the fact that it is pretty chilly isn't helping at all. But I've made up some new rigs this morning. I was fishing some kind of stiff hinge rigs with a double loop, the hook lassoed over the double loop, and I was fishing those last night. This morning I've gone for a bit more of a conventional knotless knot with a little piece of shrink tube that I've shrunk down to give me a kicker, and I've got the rigs in the bivvy and they're ready to go. They're baited, so next time I wind in I'm going to put those on, and I like them. This fishing with mono and barbless hooks, that's a rule on here. You've got to use mono hook links and the hooks have got to be barbless, and I'm still getting my head around that one. But the rigs that I used last night did bump one fish down in the margin, and sod's law, it felt like the heavier one, you know. When I struck into it, the rod harped over, no head shaking, taking a bit of line, and then it just bounced and the hook popped out. I think with a barbless hook, a barbed hook, you don't get that. But yeah, it's one of them things. It's part and parcel of fishing this venue. And there are some stunning fish in here, absolute stunners. I haven't even scratched the surface of what's in here. So I'm gearing towards learning a new way of bait presentation. I'm not using loads of bait this session either. I don't think I need to. I think this is a kind of corner swim where when they're in here, they're in here. You don't need to put loads of bait in to entice them in. And I think, I don't know, I've just been watching some stuff online, and I've just got this thing that I don't think putting loads and loads of bait in the swim is going to do you any favours on this sort of venue. I think you need to put little traps and fish for a fish at a time. Just enough so that there's enough attraction in the water column to bring any fish in the area down to the hook bait. Pick up that hook bait don't give them too much choice, you know, half a dozen baits and then a hook bait. And then once that fish is landed and in, you reset the trap. Maybe. Just stuff I'm toying with at the moment. I'm going to do some breakfast in a minute. I just made up some little PVA bags, little narrow PVA webbing with 4 boilies in. And that's what's being nicked on, just so that there's a little clump of 5 boilies there. And yeah, it's early. I think it's probably just gone 7, maybe about 7:15 now. And yeah, I'm really excited. Got a few days ahead of me. So midday today will be 1 24-hour session out the way, and I've got another 2, possibly 3 after that. So hopefully the bait lasts. With the way I'm applying the bait and the philosophy I'm using with the bait application, I think the bait will last me. If I was over in the point swim and I had a spot 3/4 of the way across and I was catapulting bait out, building up a bed of bait and trying to build up a big hit swim, you'd get through the bait a lot quicker. And I think then I would have to incorporate something like Vitamin or more pellets, or maybe some particles. I think to get a bed of cheaper bait out there, because if you go through 16mm boilies, you're just going to use loads, especially over a 3 or 4 day session if you fish that type of fishing. So I think the tucked out of the way end swim, setting little traps philosophy is what I'm going to stick with this session. Just watching across to the far bank, and it's been very quiet. Like I said, I saw that one fizzer when I went round to bait up about half an hour ago, and it's been very quiet. I've seen no more fizzing on the spot. I've seen no fish rolling or topping, but I've just seen some reeds knock, which is a good sign. They're there, so they're not going to be too far from that hook bait. And we've managed to get the first one of the day. And again, it's a small fish, but look at that. What a little darling that is. One rod down in the margin and one over on the far bank. I've decided to put the margin rod over on the far bank with the other one, just to maximise my chances, because I've seen a few more bubbles over there and the margins have been really quiet. So, and the one that I moved was the one that went. That's gorgeous, isn't it? Yeah, what a fish. That's why we come here, because even if you get the small ones, they look amazing. Ooh, he's a bit feisty. There he is. There he is. Beautiful little fish there. Getting back in and sort the swim out. I think we need to top up a little bit of bait out there. Yeah, well lucky. Well, if Carlsberg made mornings, sausages sizzling away in the pan, and a beautiful old scaly dinosaur in the net, buzzing. So we've got fish number 6, just frying up some sausages for breakfast, and this one rattled off. There you go, there's a proper one. Not massive. I think that might be a double, maybe a little, maybe 10 or 11 pound, that fish, maybe a bit more. I'm rubbish at judging them, but what a looker. What a looker that is. That's an old one, that is. Tailboil and withered fins, absolutely beautiful. Spin around and show you the other side quickly and then get her back. Don't want to give her too much grief. Look at that, that's the side, I think, isn't it? Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Ooh, I was going to say well behaved as well, but she's just starting to tense up. Let's get her back and get them sausages going. Immense. Absolutely immense. about. Well, I'm out of breath and this is pretty immense, but the sausages haven't even finished cooking yet. And I've got another one in the net. And this one's a decent one. There you go. A little bit of carnage in the swim this morning, always the way when you're trying to cook a sausage. But yeah, 17 pounds and a few ounces, that fish. That's a lovely one. That looks like a fairly young fish, that one. Certainly not one of the old dinosaurs. But I'll take that. That's brilliant. Can't remember how many fish we're on now. Doesn't matter, I'm not counting. I can always count them up when I watch the video back. But yeah, that's immense. That fought really well as well. I was round and round and plodding around and around underneath the rod tip. I knew it was a better fish, just didn't want to come up to the surface. But I've got no rods in the water at the moment, so I'm just going to go around and check a little bit of bait in, get the rods back out, and see if I can eat these sausages. Yeah, cracking fish. So you've caught me eating my sausages. I found a bit of time now. I've managed to get the rods back out, get some bait on the spot, got the rods back out, and now I can eat my breakfast. But yeah, a little bit of carnage, but I'm expecting a little bit of quiet now because for those that don't know the lake, there's actually two ponds, and the far bank that I'm fishing to is a causeway between the two ponds. Now you're not allowed to fish off the causeway into the big pond, so that the night anglers along this bank can use it as a far bank and it's fairly undisturbed. But the small pond you can fish from the causeway. Now there's a bit of a bank and you drop down to the swims, so you're kind of over the corner and out the way a little bit, but they're still fairly close to the far bank. And today just happens to be a match on that pond. There's about 20-25 anglers around the pond, and there's a guy right opposite, and he's just setting up and he's clattering around his tackle boxes and getting his nets ready and everything else. And that's what you do when you set up to go fishing. You make a bit of noise and you set everything up, so I'm not complaining. I just think with the bit of commotion that's gone on over there at the moment, things are going to be quiet for a little while. And once he gets down into the swim and actually starts fishing, I think things will quieten down, and then maybe we can pick up another fish or two. But they're out there now. I'm having a bit of breakfast, just about to make a cup of coffee. It's been a fantastic morning. Like I said, in the last session I caught up into early hours, it went dead quiet, and then I started catching in the morning, and the same's happened here. 3 fish in quick succession over on that far bank. So yeah, I'm quite pleased at the moment. I think I've had 8 fish. I have actually lost count. I had 3 mirrors and a common in the night. That was 4. And I've had 3 this morning. Now I think I've had 7. 3 mirrors this morning. I think I've had 7 fish. I'll see when I play the video back anyway. It doesn't really matter. And look at that. What a stunning fish that is. That is an absolute belter. Scaly banger, as Ross called it. Fantastic. Here's one for the future. Imagine that at £30. Unbelievable. And fish number 8. Quick look at the other side, just so we can identify it later on down the line when it is £30. There she is. Look at that, beautiful. Proper job. Action. That's what you're supposed to say. So I was just having a chinwag with Ross, having a cup of tea, putting the world to rights as you do. And I baited up the swim and thought I'd leave it for a while. And while we're sat there, we're just watching fish ghosting in and ghosting back out again. So I sod it, I'm going to put the rods back out. And I suppose they're out there about 10-15 minutes. And we've got another one. Again, not a big fish, but look at that. Who cares when they look like that? And that's why we come here, because the fish are absolutely incredible. Absolute stunners. Practically every fish you catch. There's not many places in the land where every fish looks like this, regardless of size. That's incredible. The kettle's going to boil in a minute. I'm going to make a nice cup of coffee, so I'm going to get it all swung back, put the rod back out on the spot, and maybe open a celebratory packet of biscuits. Happy days. Well, it's been a quiet afternoon. It's been a nice afternoon, sitting here chewing the fat with Ross, having a social and having a bit of a chin wag. I was wondering if one of the rods might burst into action at some point, and it did with that lovely 18-pound common. Really long fish. Big tail, let me know about it as well. Just ploughing round and round under the rod tip, didn't want to come up, didn't see it for ages. But, yeah, I was wondering if I'd get, I've had a few mirrors, I was wondering if I'd get a nice common on this session. And there it is. Beautiful common, that. Well happy. So as you can tell, it's nearly dark now on day 2, and I feel like I haven't got the camera out much today, only when I've caught fish. And I've had, I don't know, I've had 11 fish now. I think I've had 3 or 4 today, but my friend Ross has been down, and we've been having some coffee and having a chin wag and just chatting about fishing and stuff in general, and it's been a really enjoyable day, to be honest. He's one of the bailiffs here, and he came down to do his bailiffing duties. And I think the idea was while he's down here, get a couple of rods out, but he hasn't got the rods out of his van. He's just been down here with me, and we've been having a chat and a laugh, and it's been a really good day, to be honest. We've caught a couple of nice fish as well, but he's just left. The bats are just starting to fly around. The owls are going to start up soon. It's been a lovely sunset to sit and watch as well. So I'm going to have a bit of tea now. I'm going to make myself a little Ridge Monkey toasty. I've got some cheese and ham, bit of sweet chilli sauce in there, I like that. Have one of them. It's like napalm though, so you've got to be really careful when you eat it, otherwise you're going to get blisters all on the inside of your mouth. So have that and a cup of tea, and sit and wait for these rods to go off. Got both on the far bank. I had one in the inside margin last night, didn't do a lot, I had a small common on it. Reason being, there's 2 spots that I was fishing. One of them's a bit close to a bush that comes out over the water quite a bit, and I've only got to get a couple of feet the wrong way, and I'm in the bush, and in the dark, not great idea. So the new spot that I've got is one that Ross put me on. It's just a little bit further down. I've got a little far bank line up on the top of the tree, so I can cast to it no problem in the dark. And I did have that nice big common off of it earlier, off that spot, and I've just had a liner as well. So bodes well. Both rods on the far bank. Going to leave them there tonight. And see what we can get. And it went quiet last night from about 2 AM up until about breakfast time, maybe about 9 o'clock, and then had a couple of fish. So I'm going to leave them out, and then I think the plan is tomorrow about lunchtime, was when it went quiet today, to rest the swim, put a little bit of bait in it and leave them to it, and then maybe do a little bit of stalking and a bit of float fishing down the end of the lake tomorrow. So, but we'll see how that goes tomorrow. But yeah, tea time for me now. Really good day, having a really good session, and I'll speak to you guys in a bit. There you go, guys. So since I last spoke to you and it's got dark, I managed to have my toasty and a cup of tea, and I had a lovely run on the left hand rod, and I pulled out of that one. Bobbin flew up, struck into it. It was on for about 10 or 15 seconds, and then it came off. I put the rod back out on the spot, flicked some more bait over it, and about 20 minutes later this one's gone off. And I've got another small but very beautiful mirror carp. There we go, there's another one, nice common. It's proving to be a little bit frantic tonight. I'll put that last one back, and after I got the rod back out, it's about 15 minutes I suppose, and then the right hand rod had a bit of a drop back. I wound that one in, but there was nothing on there. Fish dropped it. Put the rod back out again, sat back inside the bivvy, left hand rod away. Lovely little common. There we go. Fish number 14 is an absolute stunner again. Scaly as you like. Absolutely beautiful. Would have loved to have seen that one during the daylight. Well, there's fish number 15 on what is proven to be a really prolific night. And what a fish. That could well be one of my favourites of the session so far. Massive scales all over it. An absolute peach. The nightlight doesn't do this any justice whatsoever. It's a lovely dark fish. Massive scales all over it. Probably just creeping into double figures. Absolute corker. Not even midnight yet. And we are bagging up. Absolutely bagging up. Brilliant. So believe me when I say I have been trying to settle down for the night. I'm knackered. Absolutely knackered. I've had a chilled out day, to be honest. It's midnight now. And I'm on 15 fish total. And I've got both spots rocking. Both rods are doing the business. The only worry I've got now is running out of bait. I think I'm just gonna, because I'm watching the little foam nuggets pop up now, put a little bit of bait tight over the top. I'm using less bait than I was, so I think that's a good thing. I think I can get it down now to, you know, maybe a handful of pellet and half a dozen boilies over the top of each one, because there's obviously an area now where the fish are feeding. I'm absolutely knackered. I do apologise if I come across tired, but I am. I think I've been catching small ones. There's an A-team in here. All lakes have got an A-team, and I've seen some of the fish on that A-team. And you know, sort of mid-20s scaly bangers, linears, half linears, some really good fish, some really good ghosties too. Lake record's a ghostie, 32 pounder, ghostie mirror. But I seem to be catching small ones, although they're all absolute stunners, and you'd be pleased with any single one of them. After a few, you just think you're ticking a few off the list. Surely one of those mid-20s, upper 20s isn't far around the corner. You know, you've got to wade through the smaller ones to get to the big ones, so hopefully that's what I'm doing. But if they don't turn up, they don't turn up. You can't force the issue. But yeah, it would just be nice to get a better one. But I'm not complaining. I'm having a fantastic session. But I am gonna just make a cup of tea. I've just had to make a new rig because the hair that the boilie was sitting on was all a bit, after a few fish, it just went a bit weird and tatty. So I just made a new rig, and I had to boil the kettle to shrink the shrink tube. So while I had some boiling water there, I thought it'd be rude not to have a cup of tea. So I'm gonna have this cup of tea and settle down. Jump up if we get another run, but hopefully I can get an hour's sleep or something. But yeah, you can't complain all the time you're catching fish, can you? Morning guys, and it's a lovely misty morning. Absolutely beautiful this morning. Clear sky again. Been lucky with the weather this week. Come over a little bit cloudy last evening when I was sat here just chilling out but the sky cleared through the night and it was a cold night again. A very busy night on the rods. The tight baiting approach worked really well and I was getting constant action up until about probably 2 o'clock in the morning again. And the last fish I had was probably I think about 2:15, and I had a nice common, probably a scraper double common, and I was so tired, and I'd had that many fish. I think that was fish number 16 for the session, going into the second night, and I unhooked it in the net and let it go without getting any video footage of it. And I put the rod back out again, and then I was able to settle down for the night. Rods went quiet and I got a decent bit of sleep. Woke up at first light, probably about 6:30. Again, the spot was very quiet, exactly the same pattern yesterday. So I took that opportunity to wind them in, freshen the hook baits, pop them back out, top it up with a little bit more bait over each rod. And now they're set, they're in place, it's all nice and quiet. There's nobody here. Believe there's no match on today, and no other anglers have turned up just yet. So if it follows the pattern of yesterday, I think between 8 and 9 we had the first one yesterday morning, and I think I had 2 or 3 fish before the match anglers turned up and made a load of commotion, and that kind of killed it. So I'm hoping if I can keep everything quiet and low key, that morning take time will come again and I can capitalise on it a bit better. And then it went quiet. I think it went quiet once the match anglers turned up, and then once they'd settled down and started fishing, about an hour into the match, maybe about 11 o'clock just after, had another little flurry of activity and had another 2 or 3 fish. So maybe between sort of 9 and 12 might be a good time to maybe bag a couple more. And it's lovely to get them during the day. I had some really nice ones last night, especially one fully scaled, which was probably pushing sort of 11 or 12 pounds, but it was absolutely covered in big scales. It was just the most magnificent fish, and it was a good colour as well. It was a nice deep dark brown, and you know, the night light shining on it just didn't do it any justice whatsoever. Would have been lovely to get that one during the day, get some daytime footage of it, but such is the way with night fishing. Plane going overhead, wonder where they're going. But yeah, gorgeous, the birds are singing now. I've had a couple of cups of coffee, sorted myself out, woke myself up, and I'm poised, ready to see what today brings. Well, I was only speaking about how I've caught lots of really lovely fish, but not one of the real whackers, not one of the, I say whackers, not one of the big fish for the lake, one of the A team. And that is exactly what I've done first take of the morning. Can't quite believe it. What a fish that is. I feel so privileged to be holding that up for you right now. Look at that. There's a carp, just over 23 pound. That's absolutely gorgeous Barron's Pond dinosaur. That is quite incredible. Fantastic. Speechless. Speechless. There's the fish of the trip. Right there. Absolutely monumental carp. Blown away. Let's give her a little flip round. Flip round. There you go, girl. Turn her around. Turn her around graciously. Let's get some water on your girl. Oh wow, that is so cool. Come here, baby. Come here, my babe. There you go. There you go. There she is. That is the one I came for. That is absolutely superb. can't tell you how happy I am right now. Well, you wait 2 days for a 20 pounder and then 2 come along at once. I was just revelling in my glory over that lovely, lovely old mirror. Just made myself a bacon sandwich, poured myself a cup of coffee, and then I had a run on the same rod. It just caught the most immaculate common carp at 20 pounds and 4 ounces. Over the moon with that fish. That is just absolutely perfect, isn't it? I think so. What a stunning fish. Blown away by them 2 fish this morning. Just get another. Oh my god, that is so gorgeous. That is just incredible. What a brace that is, that with the mirror. There you go, look at that. Yeah, absolute beauty. Absolute beauty. Blown away, happy boy. One very happy boy. Can't say a lot. What a morning this has turned out to be. Blue sky, sun shining, birds are singing, and we've had a couple of fish. Have we had a couple of fish or what? It was only last night. I was having a little chat with the camera, just saying I'm not complaining. I've had some fantastic fish, caught plenty of fish. I'm just wondering if I wade through the smaller fish, will one of the better ones come along? And it was about 2:15, I think, when I had the last one. I had a common, and I unhooked it in the net and just let it go without getting any video out because I was dead tired. It was about sort of upper single, low double. But after that, they left me alone, and I got some sleep. You know, a couple of days, a couple of late nights, a couple of early mornings, takes it out of you, and I needed some rest. So I got some sleep. I woke up about 6 o'clock, I think, just before first light. Mist on the lake. It was really cold as well this morning, and the rods were still and quiet. So I gave it till about 7 o'clock, and I wound them in, freshened the hook baits up, put some bait over, and got the rods back on the spots. And I think it was about 8 o'clock when the first one went, and that was that linear. And that was the fish. That was the fish that I came here for. Absolute perler. Absolute privilege to hold that fish up. And once it was back in the water and the rod was back out on the spot, I decided to have a bacon sandwich, have a bit of breakfast to celebrate, cup of coffee, and then once I'd done that, I could have a little chat with the camera and just explain to you what had happened and what I'd caught. I'd just finished my bacon sandwich and I was just starting my cup of coffee, and the same rod was away again, and it was that common, 20 pound 4 ounce common. Absolutely perfect common too, perfect proportions, beautiful colour, just amazing. Got a neighbour now as well. Someone's popped into peg 3 for the night, so I've got a neighbour, someone we can have a chin wag and have a cup of tea together and maybe do some photographs for each other and stuff. So it's always nice. It's been nice having a couple of peaceful nights, but it'd be nice to have someone around tonight. But the rods are back out again now, It's still that time where I could expect something. Going by the last couple of days, I think up until lunchtime, and then it goes a bit quiet after that. So I'm going to keep at it until lunchtime, and then I might go for a little wander with a float rod and rest the swim for a few hours and get them back out on tea time. But yeah, what a brace of fish that was this morning. It's funny because the previous night I had small fish predominantly through the night, and then in the morning I had a couple of really nice ones, a decent mirror and an old gnarly one as well, and this morning a couple of good fish as well. So maybe the pups through the night and the good fish in the morning. That's a pattern that seems to be emerging anyway. So we've just had a little bit of opportunist angling. Here we go. Lovely mid-double mirror. And the rods are notoriously quiet this time of day. It's just after lunch. So I've gone for a little bit of a wander, and there's some down in the corner in peg 5. Just milling around underneath the leaves. So I rigged up a float, no shot on it, with a lump of luncheon meat about 8 or 10 inches under the surface. And I dropped it in front of this one's path as he was swimming by. And he snatched it. And I'm glad he did. Because that's a lovely fish, that is. Really lovely clean mirror. And on an afternoon when not much is happening, get out and nick yourself a little opportunist bite. It's brilliant. So the sun's going down now, and it's been a very, very lazy day today. I haven't done much at all. I had them couple of lovely fish, brace of 20s this morning. That was done and dusted by about 10 o'clock. And then I kind of put the rods back out again, didn't get anything. Wound them in about lunchtime. Went for a little stalk down that end of the lake. And ended up hooking 3 fish, landing one of them. One of them tried to get in some snags, so I had to pull a bit hard and pulled the hook out. Another one had him going around in front of me and the hook just slipped, just unfortunate. And then the third one, which was that lovely clean mirror you saw earlier, I managed to land. So it was nice to go and stalk one and not put all my eggs in that basket fishing across to the far bank. There's been a few fish cruising about today. I just thought I might be able to intercept them, float fishing with a little bit of luncheon meat, just about 10 inches under the surface, and it worked 3 times. But they're back out. I've had my tea, I'm fed and watered. The rods are back out on the spots for the night now. The areas are baited. And the sun's just dipping down behind the trees now, and I can feel the temperature starting to drop a little bit. The owls have already started hooting. Bats will be out in a minute. Just sitting here waiting for the bats, to be honest. Watching the midges flying around, bloody things. Buzzing around my ear rolls. Yeah, generally just enjoying the 3rd night. I think I am going to stay for the 4th night. I've got enough bait. I've been a bit conservative with the bait, although I've been catching plenty. I'm on 19 fish now. 19? I think so, 19. I haven't been putting loads in. I've been putting a handful of bait over each rod, and I've been fishing little traps for a bite at a time. And by doing that, I haven't been oofing it in, and I haven't been getting through loads of bait. So, I reckon we can squeeze another night in. Food supplies are looking alright. Plenty of water. I was prepared for this trip. The only thing I didn't have is any small hooks. I fancy having to go for the roach today, because I know there's some really big roach in here. And David, who's next door, pilfered a little bit of stuff off of him, some bands. He had a small hook, I think it was a size 10 hook that he had. Borrowed a little bit of kit off of him. Sat next door with a float rod, just feeding pellets and fishing an 8mm banded pellet on the hook. And I had half a dozen roach, all around sort of 10-12 ounces. It's good fun for 10 minutes, but I soon got bored with that. And then he caught one which was probably £1.5 pounds, if not a bit bigger, over on the far bank on a 16mm bottom bait. Bit different. Still. There we go. Got our first one of night number 3, and fish number 20 for me, that is. They made me wait a little bit. Maybe wait a little bit longer tonight. It's nearly 10 o'clock, and that's the first one. And I was getting a bit twitchy, wondering if it might have been wrapped up over a bit of branch or a bit of twig or something, but getting a few single bleeps, and I thought it's going to go in a minute, and it did. And this one's itching to get back, and I'm itching to get that rod back out. So yeah, well happy. First one of the night. Chuffed to bits. So I got that fish back, and before I had a chance to get the rod back out again, the right hand rod was away. So they've turned up now, and this one, absolutely gorgeous little fully scaled mirror, probably about £7 or £8, absolutely stunning. He's grunting away. Yeah, that's a beautiful fish, that is absolutely beautiful. And they've turned up. It's getting a bit twitchy there for a while, but now 2 fish in the space of about 15 minutes, and looks like it's rocking. There we go. Mid double common. We had a little flurry of a couple of fish within about 20 minutes, and I thought that was it. You know, we're going to start getting a few. Put the rods back out, sat there for half an hour and nothing had happened, so I thought we'll have a cup of tea, get in the sleeping bag, kick my shoes off, and then it'll happen, and it did. Lovely old fish, this one. Crinkle tail, withered fins. Happy with that. Going to slip him back, 'cause he's been a bit feisty. He's given me a little bit of grief. He's behaving himself now, but he hasn't been. So I'm going to get him back as quick as I can. There we go. Yeah, there he goes. Morning guys, Thursday morning, and it looks like it's shaping up to be another gorgeous day. A little bit of a breeze. Wasn't quite so cold last night. We had some more fish last night. I had 3 mirrors in the early hours. I think one at 3 o'clock, one at 4 o'clock, and one at 6 o'clock. And they were all sort of £6 or £7 mirrors. And I didn't mess around with the camera too much. I put those ones straight back. Just didn't want this video to be so samey. Like, oh, he's got another £6 or £7 mirror. He's got another £6 or £7 mirror. That'll get boring quite quickly. So I've got them back out. I woke up this morning at 6 o'clock when I had the last fish. I went back to sleep and woke up at 8:30, and the rods were still. And what I've done the other mornings, I've kind of hedged my bets. I've gone a little bit radical, and I've wound in on what you would normally think was boat time, and freshened everything up, put a little bit of bait on the spots, and that's paid dividends, because between 9 and 10 o'clock I've had a couple of fish, both mornings. So I've just done that, I've just freshened them up, I've put a little bit of bait on the spots, put the rods back out, minimal disturbance, and I've had a couple of liners already. Now I'm putting pellet out, and I've got a feeling as soon as I put pellet on the spot, I'm getting loads of roach in, and the roach are a fair size, so if they're over there feeding and knocking into the line, that's probably why I'm getting these liners. But there's an argument, you know, don't put the pellet in. With the boilies laying on the bottom, you won't have so many roach messing around in the bottom. But I think a little bit of disturbance from the roach, any carp in the area will see that feeding activity and come over to investigate. That's my chain of thought there. And I don't think they'll get all of the pellet, will they? Maybe because it's all covered in... He's got to run. Because the bottom's covered in leaves and stuff, some of the pellet's going to get wedged underneath leaves, and it's just going to be an extra bit of attraction down there on the bottom. So I'm going to make a cup of coffee and make a bit of breakfast in a minute, and hopefully, fingers crossed, one of these rods will rattle off. That looks amazing, doesn't it? Scaly, old, and absolutely stunning. Over the moon with that. Absolutely over the moon. Okay. just spin around, quick look at the other side, and then I'm going to get her back. Give her a bit of water. There you go, darling. A few more seconds and you can go back. There you go. That's what they're supposed to look like. Absolutely amazing. Okay, right. Absolute stunner. So I've had my celebrate with bacon sandwich. It's customary. It's the law. And a cup of coffee in my fine English bone china. It's bloody hot. Yeah, definitely a bit of a pattern emerging on these mornings. Throughout the evening and through the night, tend to get the smaller fish. And it's been like that now for 3 nights. And in the morning, as much as I wake up and I give it a little while, and then at 8 o'clock I think, right, better get them in, change your baits up, put a little bit of bait out, cast them back out nice and fresh, because bite time seems to be 9 o'clock onwards. And that's really unusual on most waters. You leave them out in the morning, don't touch them till lunchtime. But on here, for some reason, if you can sort of between 7 and 8 o'clock, switch it up, freshen everything up, it pays dividends, and it has every morning. I did it on the first morning and caught 2 nice fish, a scaly one, an old scaly one, and a better, younger scaly fish. And then yesterday, did exactly the same in the morning, small fish throughout the night, and then in the morning, changed it up early, and I caught that lovely linear, 23-pound linear, and that 20-pound box common. And this morning, I've had a night of, I don't know, maybe another 6 or 7 fish, all smaller fish. And this morning, I wound them in, changed the hook baits up, put some more bait out, got them back on the spots. And I had 2 fish in quick succession. Now, granted, one of them was an absolute scaly banger, and the other one was a small common. But, still, 2 quick takes. 2 quick takes. Maybe they're at the other end of the lake overnight, and they make their way up here at that sort of time, and they spend a lot of the day on the surface up this end of the lake, and I reckon that's the sort of time they come through and they might pick up a little bit of stuff on the way through. That's why I'm getting them 2 quick takes. But yeah, another absolute beast. Not quite as big as the 2 I had yesterday morning, but every bit as beautiful. Blown away. I'm actually in 2 minds whether to stay for the extra night now. Bait supplies are getting low, food supplies are getting low. I'm missing the kids. I've had 26 fish, so I don't want to be greedy. Yesterday afternoon was very, very quiet, and it wasn't until well into darkness that I started catching last night. And Dave, who's fishing next door, he come for the night last night. And he had a few through the night as well, through darkness. All a similar stamp of fish. And I think he said he's lost a good one this morning, which sort of flat rodded him, and he felt like it was a good one, and the hook pulled, which is sickening every time. And I've had a couple of takes off of here, so I'm just wondering if I stay on for an extra night, because I've booked a week off work. It's getting towards the end of summer now, it's autumn now, there's leaves everywhere. I'm sitting here watching leaves falling. I'm wondering how many more weekends, how many more sessions there are for me now this year, because I'm not a winter fisherman, not overnight anyway. I'll be out to do some day sessions, but I'm thinking, do I squeeze in the extra night and do one more night, get back on Friday lunchtime, or do I pack up today at lunchtime and say I've had my fill, I've had my fair share, don't want to be scraping the bottom of the barrel of bait, or run out partway through the 24-hour session. I think I'm going to have to give that some thought this morning and work out what I'm going to do. But yeah, what a session, eh? If you haven't been down there, get yourself down there. There's some great food. I was going to say, there's some great fish to be had. and I'm connected to another one now. There you go, little scaly one from this morning. Not the biggest fish in the lake, but a really pretty one. So I thought I'd get that one on film for a few seconds. Gorgeous little fish that. One for the future. Cracking. There we go, we've had another fish off the spot this morning. Just around lunchtime now. Wasn't expecting this one, not bite time, but obviously it is. Yeah, oh, lovely dark fish. Bit feisty this one. Spin around to the other side quickly and I'll get back in the water. She wants to go. She wants to go. She's lovely. She's got one little withered fin, so we want to name her Baby Nemo. Yeah, cracking fish. Really nice. Well chuffed with that. Happy days. What an absolute little darling that is. It's really different conditions today. It's been really sunny throughout the day and a lot of carp have been up on the top cruising around, sitting underneath trees. Today's overcast. There's a bit of a breeze. It's a completely different day. It looks carpy. And I said to the guys, I think we've got a chance of getting a few bites off the bottom, and it's happening. The rods are going. And that might not be the biggest fish in the lake, but wow, probably one of the prettiest. Absolute stunner. Let's just spin her around, show you the other side, because that's just as immaculate. Alright mate, you can go back in a second. Look at that, armour plated, angry and absolutely stunning. Well pleased with that. Get it back out because I think there's going to be more today.
Throw a bucket of water over him because it's 30 fish.
Orange spot.
We'll get another one and lay next to it.
There we go. Fish known as orange spot. One of the 18, 23 pounds 6 ounces, and I'm absolutely blown away. Fish number 30, and we were saying how cool would it be if one of the 18 come along as fish number 30, and there it is. Didn't that fight as well? Unbelievable. I've been so spoilt this trip. I've caught loads of fish. I've caught some amazing fish, and that one just tops it all off. Absolutely brilliant. What a fishery, eh? You just spin her around so you can have a look at the other side of her, the side that hasn't got an orange spot on it. Oh, look at that fish. That is absolutely brilliant. Right, go steady, steady, steady. Steady, steady, steady. Steady, steady. Here we go. There she is. That's amazing. I'm gonna get her back. Stick a saddle on that. I've had the most quiet day, and it's been overcast, and we've had a little bit of drizzle, we've had a little bit of wind hacking down this corner, and it's looked absolutely perfect. I've sat there with the rods out, just expecting one of them to go at any minute, but it just hasn't happened. And now it's getting on towards tea time, and just managed to catch another one. Small one, but a beautiful fish. Absolute little stunner. So hopefully that's the start of them coming back into the swim and getting feeding. But yeah, really pleased with that. I'll slip that back, get the rod back out, think about having a bit of tea, because I'm getting hungry now. So that's it, going into the final night. The rods are out on the spot for the evening. We had that nice scaly one about 25 minutes ago. The rods are out, got bait over the spots, and maybe we can get one or two through the night, something in the morning perhaps. Don't want to be greedy, it's just me on the lake at the moment, the gates are shut, and it's just me. I've got until midday tomorrow, so in the morning, a bit of breakfast, and then I'll probably start packing camp away. But what a session it's been. 31 fish I've had so far. It is over a long session, but it's not an easy water by any means. And in amongst all of those fish, I've managed to catch some real gems, haven't I? If you'd have given me one of those really lovely old dinosaurs at the beginning of the session, I'd have snapped your hand off. But to catch a few of them, I feel privileged, really do. But I wanted to get down here and do a longer session. I did that 12-hour session, 24-hour session, and I had 8 fish. I had a little taste of what the place has got. Seen the pictures, I just thought, back then, you know, if I can get down this end of the lake, fish to the far bank, little foam nuggets popped up, a little bit of bait over the top, nice and precise, my style of fishing, up close and personal. It's a far bank, but it's only a short chuck, and I thought there could be a few decent fish in it for me, and that's what's happened. It's been amazing. I urge anybody to get themselves down there and have a couple of nights. It's peaceful as well. There's a train track nearby, which you hear every now and again, but apart from that, it's the birds and the owls, crows, some sheep. The wind in the trees, absolutely spellbinding. I'm going to have some dinner. I've got beef goulash and rice tonight. I'm going to have that, wash down with a nice cup of tea, and start to have a little bit of a tidy up. It's that time of the session now where I'm just going to start to think about tomorrow, start planning ahead. But it's also all about them fish out there. Could still get another special one. You never do know. There we go. It's 1 AM on the final morning. And in the last hour and a half I've had 3 fish. This is my third one. I had a small mirror and a small crumbin, which I'll put straight back in after unhooking them in the margin. But that one, I thought that one deserves a little bit of a video. Show you guys that one. Look at the scales on that. Absolute peach of a fish that is. Stunning. I've had so many stunning fish this session. It's just been overwhelming. But I couldn't let that one go back without showing you guys. Look at that. Stunning. I'm going to get that back, put the rod back out, and then get some more shut-eye. Fabulous. So there's a chunky one. And for its size, that one let me know all about it as well. It was just very, very slow and ponderous coming into the bank. And when it got under the rod tip, it just went round and round and round, like all the good ones do. And when it popped up, I thought, where's the rest of you? But really happy with it nonetheless. Super carp. And definitely some more shut-eye needed, so I'm going to slip this back, get the swim sorted, get back in that sleeping bag because it's rather warm in there. Excellent result. So good morning, and it's the final morning. And I've done what I do every other morning. I've got up, I've changed the hook baits, I've topped the spots up with bait, and I've recast. And touch wood, and there's a wooden handle on that reel. Each of the 3 mornings I've had a couple of bites around 9-10 o'clock. So I know everything's out there, it's nice and fresh and ready for them. So all it leaves for me to do now is to have a cup of coffee and a bacon sandwich. Enjoy this final morning. The moon is just above the trees over there. I've been up quite regular through the night. I've had 4 or 5 fish, I think. And I've been up at regular intervals, and I've seen the moon start off over there and then gradually work its way across the sky. And it seemed to disappear, and the sun will follow it. Same path. Really eerie last night. I've actually had it most nights where I come out in the middle of the night and you can't see anything. The headlamp beam bounces off this mist, this thick mist that descends upon the lake, and it feels quite cold, and then sort of 5 minutes later it clears. It's like when you're driving in fog and you put your headlamps on, you try and put your main beam on because you can't see nothing. It's no better because the beam is just bouncing off the droplets of mist, and that's what was happening with the headlamp last night. Quite bizarre. And right on cue, just as we're making breakfast, gone and caught another cracker. Want a sneaky peek? Let's see if I can gather this up and show you what we've got in there. There you go. Sneaky peek, that's what we see. Jesus Christ. So, my morning spot's done me proud again. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Have I been spoilt this trip or what? I can't get over that. That might even be the best looker for me. Not the biggest, but look at that. Quite emotional with that one. Don't think I'm much better than that. I keep on saying it, keep on saying it. What an absolute darling. That's a carp. That's what carp should look like. Absolutely fabulous. Blown away. Absolutely blown away. So we've been spoilt yet again this morning. Lovely fish on the right hand rod. Yeah. So we've been spoilt yet again this morning. Absolutely wonderful fish. Rod's back out on the spot. I've had a bit of breakfast now, and it's just after 9:30, so 2 hours I reckon I've got left. So now I'm going to start packing everything away. I'm going to leave the rods out because they're on the spots, and there's a chance of something all the way up to lunchtime, I think, until pack up time. It's another day like yesterday. And yesterday the morning feeding spell was a little bit prolonged because it was overcast, a little bit breezy, just looked carpy. So yeah, I'm going to leave these in. I'm not going to mess about with them now. They're on the spots, they've got bait around them, they've got good hook baits. They haven't been messed around with because I've stopped putting the pellet in, and I'm not getting all the little single bleeps and everything, so I think just putting the boilies in means there's not so many roach in the swim, which is good. So they're not going to mess around with the rig too much and throw it about. So yeah, I'm going to start packing stuff away that I don't need, put the bed in the house away, and start ending the session. So as you can see, the sun is shining. It's a beautiful day. Started off a bit overcast, but it's really, really nice and warm now. And there's not a soul on the fishery, nobody here whatsoever. And in about 10 minutes I won't be here as well, because I've got to pack up and wind in and get away. I did have a take about 15 minutes ago on a right hand rod. Pulled into it and there was loads and loads of head shaking for about 10 seconds, and then the hook pulled, so I think it was a small one. But it's been an absolutely memorable session. Caught some really, really good fish. Nice bit of me time on the bank. And I think the decision to not go to Cornwall and to come here instead was a good decision. Not sure how many more nights I'm going to get now, because we're going into winter. The weather's going to turn soon. And the nights are going to get chilly. But we'll see. But thanks for following the journey. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you in the next one.